Now, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to find out that the organization which the mainstream media and other politicians prop up as the authority on health during this crisis, that this organization isn't as effective, isn't as good, isn't as holy as they make them out to be, but they're almost the complete opposite of that, and we're going to get into that plus a lot more in this independent media organization, calling out that organization, the World Health Organization, which, by the way, Facebook, Amazon, Google, which means YouTube now, they are going to this organization, the World Health Organization, to figure out who to censor and what information you can or cannot hear. So yes, the World Health Organization, an organization that's being run by a communist revolutionary party Ethiopian member of government who's accused of human rights violations and covering up previous pandemics, who's in the pockets of China, is determining who is allowed to have free speech and a voice in this country. Which again, this could absolutely explain to why hundreds, if not thousands, a day of people are unsubscribed from this channel without them doing it. It could explain why we're getting demonetized, downranked in the algorithm, and totally screwed over by YouTube, since of course we call out corruption, which the World Health Organization is filled with. Again, just wait until what we are going to get into in this video. It's going to definitely surprise you. But because we're getting screwed over by YouTube, we have decided to work with affiliates of companies that we personally know, that we personally trust, with individuals that I have personal friendships with. And if you're looking to purchase some gold, silver, some health products, or some storable food, check out the links below, because these are trusted businesses that we have special relationship with and affiliate sales that are only available to you because of our relationship. So yeah, check out some of these companies. The links are again down below. Now, just jumping right into it, I am even surprised what I just found out about the World Health Organization, which in many instances has made this entire crisis that much worse. A lot of what we're dealing with right now could have been prevented, but inadequate, idiotic, incompetent, or sometimes even could be described as evil, deliberate actions were taken by people in authority that made it that much worse when it didn't need to be. And still, the disinformation continues from the World Health Organization that is telling people still that you don't need a mask. Big disinformation. They absolutely dragged their feet and didn't want to declare what we're dealing right now a public health emergency, even though it is. They said the world had nothing to worry about with this problem, as they were actively covering up for China, telling people not to close their borders to China because of racism, and also released tweets literally saying that there is data showing that there's no human-to-human transition of this sickness to each other. And that's just some of the things that happen that you're going to find out in this video. But this is either gross incompetency or just criminality. And you might be asking yourself, why is this happening? Well, all you have to do is look no further than the person who is in charge of World Health Organization. And that is a Mr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who, by the way, is not a medical doctor and is totally unqualified for this job. If you look at this man's history, he was the former Ethiopian health minister, and before that he was the foreign minister, but he rode into the positions of power in government in Ethiopia with the TPLF party, a communist revolutionary party that during their rule was accused of human rights violations. And even though many people celebrated that we finally have someone from Africa who's in charge of the World Health Organization, this man's past is shadier than you could even imagine. You might as well have appointed Robert Mugabe, the dictator of Zimbabwe, that according to some records killed over 20,000 of his own civilians, causing massive hyperinflation in Zimbabwe. By the way, I did some on-the-ground investigations in Zimbabwe. You should definitely check those out. The link to that will be in the description below, detailing the current situation there now and how it dealt with just massive hyperinflation, absolute criminality by their government. And again, as I just made an analogy here, you might as well have appointed Robert Mugabe as the head of the World Health Organization. And I say that not in jest, because this man was actually made goodwill ambassador to the World Health Organization. Yes, a genocider, war criminal in Africa was awarded by Tedros as one of his first actions as the head of the World Health Organization as the goodwill ambassador to the World Health Organization. Yeah, these are the type of despots and criminals that this organization rewards. And of course, it shouldn't come to a surprise that this man is also in the pockets of China. Of course, is closely politically aligned to Mr. Tedros's political beliefs. especially as a avowed communist revolutionary. And of course, there's data showing that China put Tedros in the position that he is in right now, and it makes perfect sense when you look at the actions that he has committed that made this crisis that much worse. And of course, China backed Tedros in the May of 2017 elections for the World Health Organization. And this is one reason why the World Health Organization was downplaying and underplaying the significance of this sickness spreading all over the world right now from the very beginning. Even though there was many other experts raising the alarm bells and trying to warn the world that this storm was coming, the World Health Organization told everyone not to worry. And that, according to the always very honest Chinese authorities, there's no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of this sickness. And while declaring it an emergency, which it clearly was, as long as they could, they at the same time also praised Chinese draconian actions in addressing this sickness, which the Chinese knowingly knew about, covered up, and made sure to prioritize their soldiers being quarantined months before the world even knew about it. While, of course, arresting doctors and journalists, putting them in jail for trying to warn the world that this sickness will soon spread everywhere. And this is what the World Health Organization praised. Chinese people were literally barricaded in their own houses, left to die, and this is something that the World Health Organization sees as good. And then the New York Times just regurgitated their garbage nonsense, as they still continue to do so every single day. And as China clearly is not reporting any new cases at all, sending out massive disinformation, saying that miraculously everything just completely halted and ended, which defies the basic laws of science, and that the only new cases in China are coming from foreigners and foreigners only. As China is clearly lying to the World Health Organization is spreading their lies and saying how great of an effective measure did China implement that completely flatlined cases coming from them, which again, it is clearly something that is not the truth. The Chinese made a big announcement that they reopened theaters to end the quarantine. Well, guess what? Just 2 days ago, they just closed them again. They told the world that the quarantine of Wuhan has ended, even though the people from Wuhan cannot travel anywhere else in China and are still quarantined in their city. And yet we're told that there's no new cases in China at all, that everything completely flatlined, and that the United States is responsible for a lot of its problems. And again, even though China is clearly very responsible for the complete and utter spread of this sickness all over the world, since of course they first ran a massive cover-up, weren't honest, and weren't telling the world the truth about it. And the few brave citizens in China that have essentially paid the biggest price, either with their lives or their freedoms, and they are behind jails, and that's if they're lucky. There was also a recent interview done by a Hong Kong newspaper recently that was absolutely eye-opening, since it was done with the World Health Organization, and I'm just going to play a little tidbit of it here to show you and demonstrate just how closely tied in the World Health Organization is to China, just how loyal they are to China, and how they are under their thumb.
Would the WHO consider Taiwan's membership?
Look at this fool. Look at him.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, he did. What a liar.
No, that's okay. Let's move to another one then.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm actually curious on talking about Taiwan as well, on Taiwan's case.
What an absolute freaking liar. And this is the organization that Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, and Google are depending on telling them who we can hear and who we can not hear. This is the organization deciding who gets censored. The situation gets worse here. Watch this.
And I just want to see if you can comment a bit on how Taiwan has done so far in terms of containing the virus.
Well, we've already talked about China, and
China, yeah.
Across all the different...
Still purporting the notion that Taiwan and Hong Kong is China and no one else, not their own sovereign territory. Taiwan is China.
Areas of China, they've actually all done quite a good job. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much.
Yep, China's great. China did a good job. Bye-bye. I'm a PR propaganda man for the Chinese. F off, everyone. Good luck dealing with this global health crisis as we make it worse, impede actual people from taking it seriously, and spread dangerous propaganda telling people not to wear masks, which is just absolutely idiotic. It's being puppeteered by the Surgeon General and the head of the CDC. All ignorant, dumb, low IQ, bottom of the barrel individuals, or just absolute criminals, because there's no other way to really describe it. Either they're criminals or low IQ idiots. I think the further, but that doesn't matter. Again, all the data shows specifically that masks do work preventing the spread of this sickness, since of course many people have the sickness, don't know it, spread it to others. People can make their own masks if there's shortages, and even homemade masks could make a significant difference. You look at the Asian countries that have culturally accepted people wearing masks in public, they are doing this far better than the other countries who are not. Now, of course, some people have criticized me by saying, well, those countries are rich, and there's some other factors dealing with the fact that they're having more success dealing with this sickness. And I have to point to other circumstantial evidence, countries like Vietnam and also the Czech Republic, who have also implemented and have been honest with their citizens, are dealing with this situation that much more better than everyone else, because again, they have an emphasis on wearing masks. It's that simple. Iceland also has similar measures along with testing, which is also a big determining factor here, which the United States failed atrociously at. Argentina is also taking this seriously and having massive good positive effects from this, paired again to many parts of the United States that are absolutely being devastated by this. And of course, also Italy and Spain that prioritized their economies over, of course, addressing this situation properly. So yeah, the top leading expert is censoring important information from getting to you and making this situation that much worse, while of course running a criminal cover-up of the actual tragedy, endangering everyone's safety and well-being. So yeah, welcome to 1984, where the frickin' criminal foxes are in charge of the henhouse. And again, when you look at the World Health Organization, fancy little smancy name, the mainstream media, the government treats them legitimately, but they should be met with extreme skepticism, not only because of their poor handling, but also because of their criminality. Oh yeah, and also Mr. Tedros is accused of covering up previous pandemics. I forgot to mention this, especially when Ethiopia was going through a cholera outbreak, where he, as the health minister, just decided to change the name of cholera, which defeated cholera in Ethiopia, even though it didn't, and again, senselessly just killed a large number of people. Do you get the drift? See what's happening here? Share this video with your friends and family members. It's more important than ever. Your support is more crucial than ever, because we're getting the hammer for exposing the very criminals that are in charge of the button that allows you to see these videos or not see these videos. And guess what? They're not showing these videos to a lot of people. They're unsubscribing a lot of people. And the only real way that these videos, these messages get out there is because of you. So I can't thank you enough for allowing for me to still be here. And this is why I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.